So in this presentation, we are going to see about exception handling in Java. So the learning objectives are types of errors, understanding exception, keywords in exception, user-defined and predefined exceptions. Tools used are JDK 1.6 in Windows 8. Types of error. So there are two types of errors. One is compile time error and the one is runtime error. If you take compile time error, it is detected and displayed by Java compiler and will not create any class file. But if you take runtime error, it gets compiled successfully and even .class files it gets generated, but the program will not run properly. Some compile time errors are missing semicolon, missing bracket, misspell, missing double quotes, undeclared variables, incompatible type, bad reference, use of single equal to in place of double equal to extra. So here is an example of compile time error. So we have a class here, public static void main and system.out.println. Here we have a missing semicolon. Actually this is an error. Another error is C, the class C should be in small letter. The runtime errors. So runtime errors usually occur while we are running the program. So some of the errors are divide by zero, access element out of bound in array, store incompatible value in array, cast error, pass invalid parameter, change in state of a thread, invalid conversion, negative array size, etc. and etc. So here is an example of runtime error. So here we could see an example in which we have integer a equal to 10 and b equal to 0 and we have a x variable which divides and a by b and gets the answer. So if you come across this line, we could see that 10 is divided by 0. So while compilation it will not give an array, but while running it divides by 0 and it throws the divide by 0 exception. So we get in the prompt as java.lang.arithmetic exception divide by 0 as an error. So this is about error. And we are going to see about the exception handling, what is exception and how we are going to do exception handling in Java. Condition that is caused by a runtime error in the program is nothing but an exception. So while an exception happens, the interpreter creates an exception object and it throws the exception object. So actually it is caught by the JVM and it is displayed as an error message. So it is not the proper way of running the program. So we have to do exception handling. So for doing the exception handling, actually it is nothing but a technique of catching such type of errors, catching such type of error object and handle it so that the program will not end abruptly and it has a smooth end. For this we have to do several steps. First of all, we have to find the problem, then we have to inform that an error had occurred, then we have to receive the error object and then we have to take action. So what are the keywords that are involved in exception handling? So we have 5 keywords: try, catch, throw, throws and finally. So if we take the syntax of exception handling, so we have 3 blocks. One is the set of statements which we have to put inside the try block. This block is a block which contains the statements where we are expecting error. Next we have the catch block in which we are going to have the set of statements which handle if an error happens. Next block is finally which gets executed if an error does not occur. If error does not occur and also if an error occurs. In both the cases the finally gets executed. Exception handling example. So we have an example here in which we have used throws. First we are just going to see an example in which we are going to use throws as a keyword. So 5 keywords we have seen: try, catch, throw, throws and finally. So this is an example which shows throws. That is, we are not handling the exception, that is we have not used any try catch block. If we don't use any try catch block also, we can handle the exception by throwing the particular kind of exception. For example, interrupted exception is cast whenever we use sleep method of thread class. So since we have used thread.sleep, it should come inside try catch block. But since we have not used try catch block, we are using throws interrupted exception. If we don't give this throws interrupted exception, the program while compilation will say an error. So as far as exception handling is concerned, we have two type of exception handling. One is handling predefined exception. Another one is creating user-defined exceptions. Using predefined exception is using already defined classes which are present in Java. For example, arithmetic exception class, array index out of bounds exception class, interrupt exception class, array store exception class, and negative array size exception class. Similarly, we have so many other exception classes. But in the case of user-defined exception, you have to define an exception. That is, we have to define our own exception class and we have to use. So this is the note that we have mentioned, that is, suppose if we don't use any try and catch, then we have to use the throws to handle the exception, which we have done already. So this is the syntax for exception handling. That is, we should have a try and we should have a catch here. So this is a small t, you should have small t here. So this generates an exception and this handles the exception. So here the point to be remembered is that we have to specify the type of the exception inside the catch. So here is an example. Here we have a is equal to 10, b is equal to 0. So if we try to divide a by b, we have a divide by 0 exception. Since we are using inside a try block, it creates an arithmetic exception object and it throws. Once it is thrown in this line, it goes here, and in this catch statement we are handling it by dividing it by 1 and it smoothly ends the program. So we can also use multiple catch statement. Here is an example where we have two type of exception. One is divide by 0, or actually it is not mentioned since we have to look into the second type of exception here. So this is an array index out of bounds exception. So we have array with only two elements, and here in this statement we are trying to refer to index 3, which is actually not the array size. So once it comes to this line, it throws an array index out of bounds exception and it comes here and it is handled here. So we can have multiple catch statement for a single try. So we are going to see about the usage of finally. So whether error occurs or without any error, it comes to this finally and it ends like you are safe. So we are going to see how to create a user-defined exception. So while you are creating a user-defined exception, it is always advisable to note down 3 points. One is we have to extend the exception class. Second is you have to define the constructor. And the third is we have to overload the toString method. So here is the class. We have extended the exception class. We have the constructor in which the error message is passed and stored in the string variable. Then we have overridden the method of toString with our own definition, that is written in the string. So how to use the user-defined error class. So here comes the part, so we have to use try catch block. In the catch we have to specify our own exception. And here is the keyword, that is we have to throw the exception because it is not generated by the Java runtime environment. We have to create the object. We have to create the object. We have to throw. Once it is thrown, it is caught here and the system.out.println will call the toString method here and it displays the error message. So the assignment is you have to create a user-defined exception, create a scenario to throw the user-defined exception. Thank you.